first of all have to say I'm sorry that I'm running a little bit late. I had a few things come up that I had to take care of, but as they say, better late than never, and I am here to take a look at some of your thumbnails. Now, if you're just seeing this video randomly, a little bit of context for you. The video that I published on Channel Makers today is about our thumbnail recipe for making thumbnails better than you ever have. It's our complete guide. So we said in that video, if you watch through the video and you need a little bit of help on your thumbnails, to join this live and to put your channel into the comments so that we could take a look at your channel and give you a little bit of help on your thumbnails. And that's what I want to do today. I'm set up here. I have my laptop, so I will be giving individualized feedback on your channels today. And I hope to give you at least a little bit of a tidbit of help. If I don't get to your channel, then feel free to watch the video because most of the things that I'm going to talk through in this live, most of the revisions or help or improvement ideas that I have are all based on our thumbnail recipe. And so again, feel free in the chat here to put your channel for review so that I can take a look at your thumbnails. But I am going to start with the comments that were left on the video this morning. So again, I'm going to get through as many as I can in the next little bit. And again, my apologies for being late. It's never ideal to be late, but I'm glad that I could still jump on here and help a couple people out. So let's look through a couple comments, see what people are saying on the video this morning. And welcome you guys. Frosty's Garden Adventures, good to see you. Dog's Life, always a pleasure to see you. Got Out, RoboDad1, I just saw your comment on the video, so we'll be getting to your channel here pretty soon. I'm super excited for this. So let's just start there. Let's look at RoboDad1. So I'm gonna open this up. I'm gonna get this channel pulled up and take a look at some thumbnails here. Okay, I'm gonna show you guys my laptop. So I'm just gonna turn you just a little bit, bring you in a little bit closer. We're gonna take a look at some of these thumbnails. So yeah, any of you guys who are watching along, hey, good to see you. Feel free to go to the channels yourself if you have access to a computer. This is the best way that I could get things set up quickly this morning. So let's look at the thumbnails on this channel. So just scrolling through, I always like to get a little bit of an idea of what the channel is about before I start critiquing the thumbnails. So this channel's mission is a quick and easy way to look at D&D aimed at new DMs and something players can also use. So now I intend to make videos about the geeky stuff I'm into, like Dungeons and Dragons. Okay, so a D&D focused channel, 2,600 subscribers, quite a few videos. Let's take a peek over at the shorts channel. It looks like probably a good number of shorts. And then today we're going to be taking a look at long form videos. Okay, so let's take a look at the most latest videos. So these look like fairly generic thumbnails. I'm going to give you guys some unfiltered advice here. So don't hate on me for that. And I'm not trying to come across as harsh. I'm just going to tell you exactly what I noticed. So first off, these all look too similar to me. I get that you have the numbers on there, but I don't initially understand why I should be interested or excited about any of these videos from the thumbnail. Here you do have a little bit of text running my home game, and then from the title, Campaign Diaries 2. So I do get a little bit more context in the title, which is helpful, but it's really important when you create a thumbnail that you create some sort of interest or curiosity. And so like this one, I would like to see a little bit more, maybe one or two more elements of interest or curiosity. The text is a little bit of an improvement, but from here, it looks like it's the exact same photo. The only difference is the number. So it's not that every thumbnail has to be completely different, but I just want them to have a little bit more curiosity involved. And then the titles here, like DM's Guide to Ataz Muhaha, I'm probably saying that wrong, Entomb of Annihilation. So add a little bit of interest, like, even if it was just a little bit of text and an arrow and said, new strategy or something like that. Like this one is a little bit better. It says rule clarification, but I'd like something a little bit more visually interesting that speaks to the game. If I just saw this thumbnail without the title, I would probably not know it was Dungeons & Dragons. I will say you do have a little bit of a background here that probably speaks to it a little bit. So overall, I will say one thing that I do notice is I like that these thumbnails are fairly simple. You're not throwing on a ton of different elements. I just think that they're maybe too simple in the fact that they are not telling me an immediate story or getting me curious. Let's look at a couple others of a different style on the channel just to see. So like this one, for example, I like that it's sort of an interesting, it's not a photo, like a graphic, but again, it still leaves me wondering, and not in a good way, wondering, what is this video about? So then I do go down to the title, Undead Dragon One Shot Dragon Week. So I think that's fine. It looks like you got a couple thousand views on this video. I would just like to see maybe a little bit of text on that thumbnail, or one or two more elements to speak to that curiosity a little bit. I think this one is kind of cool down here in the corner. You guys can probably see it just a little bit. Essential Seagull knowledge for every D&D player. Every D&D player needs. Better. I like, this is a visually appealing thumbnail. There's a little bit of an interesting thing here. It looks like, but overall a little bit better, a little bit more interesting. Let me see if there's one that just really stands out to me. Okay, I like this. Actually kind of like this thumbnail. It has just a pretty clean graphic with some easy to read text here on top. So I like this style, Session 0. Maybe you have the dice and you have a couple other things there to kind of indicate that you're talking games. So I guess the overall takeaway from this one that I would say is just try and think curiosity. You know, someone who's watching, who are potentially going to watch your videos, what could they potentially be curious about on the specific topic? You know, when you think about your video idea and your video concept, what is that special thing that you have to share with them? And really try and focus on that in the title and thumbnail. But overall, it looks like your channel is growing well. You've done a lot of videos. So take some time and do a little bit more focus on thumbnails. Because I think that with how your channel is, I think that you have some good potential. Some of your videos, especially focusing on the ones that are getting a couple more views, you could probably try and replicate that a little bit more. Okay, let's take a look at the next channel here. Welcome to all you guys who are joining the live. It's good to be here with you. A little bit of context for those of you who may not have watched it all. Put out a video this morning on Channel Makers talking about our thumbnail recipe and said, hey, we're going to jump on a live and give you guys some thumbnail help. So I'm starting out by working through some of the thumbnails of people who commented early on the video. If I have a little bit extra time, I'll jump into you guys and your videos or your channels in the chat here. So welcome, welcome. Glad to have you here. Hopefully some of this thumbnail advice is helpful for you. And if I don't get to you today, please go watch the video. Every little piece of advice that I'm giving you here is just excerpts of what you can get in the video that we posted this morning. So, but regardless, I'm glad to have you here. Okay, we're gonna be taking a look at our next channel here. This is Songbird Gaming. So let's bring you in just a little bit closer. And again, feel free to pull this up on your own device if you have the ability to, but hopefully you can get an idea. I'll zoom in a little bit more so you guys can see a little bit closer. Okay, first of all, Songbird Gaming, congratulations. It looks like you're doing a pretty good job. Coming up on 8,000 subscribers here, and I'm very interested to take a look at your channel. Okay, the background of the channel. Hi, I'm Songbird. If you enjoy non-toxic gamer people who don't take themselves too seriously, you are in the right place. I specialize in survival crafting games, especially creative building in these games. Also crazy adventures, in-game competitions. This is a mix of entertainment and storytelling with education and how-tos. Okay, so it's good to have a little bit of background on the channel. Let me call out a few things that I like. Okay, this thumbnail sort of sticks out to me. No more ugly beds. I like the text. I like how you sort of have this icon indicating, you know, you're calling something out specifically in the video. And then your title, ARK Fancy Bed Tutorial, Mods or No Mods. And it looks like this video did pretty well for you. A couple things that I think could just improve this thumbnail a little bit. Number one is I would like to see this part of the thumbnail, what you're pointing to, sort of highlighted a little bit more. And there's a couple ways you can do that. It looks like you have sort of a natural break in your thumbnail right here. you could put a little bit more of a border right there just to sort of highlight it just a little bit more. You could even, if you had the ability to, put a little border around the bed here. You also could make this element stand out a little bit more, but again, by putting a little border around it. Now, you don't want to go crazy. That's just, if you do that, you don't have to do it on every single little thing. But it sort of how you put border on this text here, you sort of do it on some of your text to help it stand out a little bit more. Like a little white border could be really interesting there. But then also just making this contrast a little bit more to stand out. But I do like how you have sort of this primary visual here and then some easy to understand text. So that's pretty cool. Right off the bat, this thumbnail looks like it's on a live stream, so maybe a little bit different than a typical thumbnail. It's a little busy. I don't mind it terribly. The text is just a little bit much there, so maybe simplifying and sort of wordsmithing that a little bit could be good. Let's go to most recent videos though. Okay, latest. So I'm just going to call out a couple things that I like and a couple things that I noticed here. So this most recent video, 9 days ago, ARC settings for noobs 2025. So this is maybe like a how-to or an educational style video. I do like how there's some contrast on the text. I do think that this background, there's probably something you could do with it that would make it a little bit more helpful. I think that it's interesting, it sort of sets a mood, but it's not necessarily helping, in my opinion. It's not like a strength. It's not one of the strong elements of this thumbnail. It's probably good that you have a face on here. Probably something else that I'd recommend is a more dedicated photo. It looks like maybe this is from a live stream cam or something like that, which is probably easier to get, I understand that, but having that a little bit more clear would be nice. This is interesting. I like this thumbnail. I'm intrigued by the text, the 2009 in this corner, then the 2025 in this corner. That's kind of cool. It's definitely making me curious about the story there with these characters as well. And then the kind of, my eye is initially drawn to this main word, oblivion. So then, obviously, I like in the title, side-by-side comparison. I think this is a pretty good thumbnail. You have quite a couple different styles here that I like. I think I like this text style probably more than this text style. Let me see if you guys can see that all the way. There we go. Let me move it over. So I like this. It's almost like a slightly softer text style than the one that we just looked at there. But again, I think that helping any visual graphic that you have, helping it stand out a little bit more would probably be great. I think a good example is right here on this. Let me see if I can get it up for you guys. This buried treasure one. You can kind of see how your primary visual here is pretty interesting. And I like how the text is not covering it in any way. So it really draws the eye to the middle, and I think that that's pretty cool. Maybe it's a little bit busy. Maybe you could take out just a couple of these elements, but overall, not too bad. I like how you use sort of a drop shadow there behind the text, help it stand out a little bit more, but pretty cool. This is a nice thumbnail as well. Let me scroll over. Make these. So there's your clear value proposition here, cute curtains you can make on day one. So again, maybe something that would help here, you've probably seen this on other people's thumbnails, where they'll almost like take a little screenshot of the thing that they want to highlight, and then they almost like they're zooming in, like they're looking through binoculars, but then they'll show it like in a circle larger, just so that people know what you're talking about a little bit more. I think that could be helpful. But yeah, it looks like you're doing a good job. Keep it up, make little improvements as you go, and hopefully you'll get more and more views. But again, look at that thumbnail recipe that we talk about in our video today. I think that will help too. Okay, let's go to another one. Welcome everybody who's here on the live. Let me just check through my comments here. It's good to have you guys here. A couple people looking for feedback. I'm going to get to your guys' feedback. Let's see, you guys said my audio is low. Let's see, I don't know if this will make a difference. Let me know if it changes. I can try and talk a little bit louder, but everything's looking normal on my side. So let me know if that's not the case. Or if you can turn up your headphones, then that would work too. But glad to have you guys here. I'm glad that Ross Peters Music, first time catching one of your live streams. How is everyone? Doing great. It's a great day to be doing YouTube, so I'm happy you're here. I'm glad you're able to catch it. Let's see if there's anybody else. Yeah, a couple other people looking for thumbnail reviews. Like I said, I'm going to get through as many as I can in the next little bit. But we do have a good number of people who commented early on in the video. So hopefully you can get some takeaways, and anything that I say about other people's thumbnails, try and apply it to your own. One thing that I'll say here before I dive into the next one, this is a really important lesson. So if you can learn this earlier rather than later, then you're going to be in a really good spot. And actually, this was prompted by someone who left a comment on the video this morning. And they said they needed help with their thumbnails. They were struggling with thumbnails. And I asked them, what is a channel that you look up to? You know, when you look at a thumbnail that you think is a good thumbnail, what's that channel for you? Is it a channel in your niche? Is it a channel of a creator that you love to watch? Those types of thumbnails that you feel are good, those are a great place to start. I was just talking to Julia the other day, and I think we might have even been coming up with the thumbnail for the Channel Makers video today. And she had found a thumbnail in a completely different niche. It was like a language learning niche or something like that. And she said, I really love the feel of this thumbnail. How could we adapt it to work for our niche or for our channel? And that really made me think a lot. It's something that I'll do, but I just hadn't really thought about it for a while. And you should be looking at other channels, whether they be in your niche or outside of your niche, and just picking their thumbnails apart. What do you like about it? What draws you in? What makes you want to click on their thumbnails? Those are the types of questions that when you start asking yourself for other creators, you can start pulling inspiration from their thumbnails. I'm not saying you have to go copycat them. That's not the case at all. But especially from channels in different niches, if you use their style of thumbnail, you're not harming anybody. You're not directly competing with them. And so it's a great way to find inspiration. Go to YouTube and find thumbnail inspiration. Screenshot them. Keep a little folder on your computer of thumbnails that inspired you, that just, man, you thought were so good. And if you feel like your skills for creating thumbnails don't quite match up to those levels, that's okay. You're going to get there at some point. But for now, if you start to understand what elements are interesting, what ones go together, what color palettes work together well, you know, what speaks to you, that's a really good place to start. So hopefully you do that. I think it's just one of the best things to do. And this thumbnail that we came up with, it was totally different than what we normally do, but it was good to try something new, and it was refreshing. You know, when we get inside our own heads and inside our own niche, it's really easy to feel stuck in a loop of everybody's making thumbnails this way. I don't want to copy everybody else. I don't know where to go next. I don't know what to do. But if you start looking outside your niche, you can kind of get rid of some of those feelings, because you're not stealing from a competitor, right? You don't want to do that. But at the same time, you can take inspiration from them. You can take little elements, you know, if you're like, oh, I really like, you know, how they told a story with this thumbnail. I like how it connected with the title. You know, take those learnings and apply them across your upcoming thumbnails. That's going to be a really great way to get started. Okay, let's move on to the next thumbnail review. I'm just going to probably go rapid fire here a little bit. Let's see, Griff Parker 1466. Let's take a look at your channel. All right, Griff Parker, 6,700 subs. I'll show you guys the channel in just a minute. This channel is low budget, classic car repair vlog style channel that specializes in classic Ford content. Make carburetors great again. Okay, interesting, very good. So old style review or repairing cars. So let's take a look at these thumbnails. I'm gonna turn the laptop. Oh, hi Annie. Annie is very much welcome to our live stream. We're just taking a look at some thumbnails here. Bear with me here. Okay, let's take a look at some of these thumbnails. All right, the most recent video is a, let's see, easy RAV4 reveal and flip $900 profit, and then sitting 4 years. Okay, I love where they're going with this. First of all, I think the composition of the photo, which would be sort of the background here, I think is really interesting. It really, all the lines are sort of leading in, drawing you toward the front of the car here, which is great. You really do want to draw people into the thumbnail. I think it's maybe a little fisheye effect, so that also helps keep people here. I like getting people's eyes right to the center. I like this. The sitting for years is interesting. Depending on who your target audience is. Oops, sorry about that. Depending on who your target audience is, you know, the $900 profit, that could appeal to people who are fixing cars to sell them for profit. But if you're appealing to more of the audience who just loves old cars, repairing cars, they might be more interested in this sitting for years text down here. So I would say you probably need to do a little bit more research into who your audience is or who you want to push this video to. Because this almost feels like this up here feels like I'm pushing this to people who are maybe interested in doing revival and flip type stuff, or at least they're interested in watching it. But then down here, maybe it feels like a little bit more, and maybe there's overlap there. Maybe you've identified that, and that's okay. But I do like this. Interesting, you put a little icon here for like a click icon. That's cool. Overall, I think this is a good thumbnail. Let's take a look at this. Okay, so man, this one is far better than this one. So look at the composition of this photo, which isn't bad by any means, but I do think this one's a lot more interesting. Some of the colors here are a little bit more vibrant. I think that that's great than this one, so it just looks a little bit better overall. And then I think the way that you have your text on this one is just a little bit more visually interesting than having the text straight across the top. And I think the same goes for down here. So hopefully that helps. I would say do more of this, a little bit less of this. But like making the more vibrant colors is great. Making whatever the main subject of your thumbnail is pop is a great way to easily improve your thumbnails. So pretty good. I'm pretty impressed with that most recent thumbnail. And that's not to say that's the only type of video that you have to do. For your if you're doing like how-to style videos, probably more on the nose text works well. But generally speaking, if you want your videos to be pushed out more broadly to like an interest audience, like Browse and Suggest, then you're going to want to put a little bit more curiosity into the thumbnail. Okay, let us go back and take a look at another channel. Let's see. Goshen Prepping, what's up? What's up with you? Glad you're here. Thanks for joining the live. Good to see you. Welcome everybody else who's jumping in here. It's fun to see you guys. Let me know, while I'm doing this, let me know how your channels are doing. How is your 2025 YouTube experience going? I may not be able to get to everyone's thumbnails, but I'd at least love to see where you're at. It gives me a good idea of what content to create in the future. So if you have any specific thoughts or problems or roadblocks, let me know so that we can help you guys out. Okay, let's take a look at a couple more. Let's see. Tech Overwrite. Okay. Oh, yeah. They said on the video this morning, great breakdown. Thumbnails are the weakest part of my video package, in my opinion. I'd welcome any review or comments. Let's see. And then I asked, are there any thumbnails to inspire you? And they said, Linus Tech Tips. So let's take a look at this channel and see how they're doing. All right. Tech Overwrite, 3,760 subscribers, 145 videos. The About says, hey, I'm Tristan. I love computers. I'm a software developer by trade. I've always loved making videos, and so I produce videos discussing PC gaming and hardware as often as I can. Okay, very cool. Let's take a look at these thumbnails here. Let us take a look. Okay, you guys ready? Here we go. Back to the computer. If you had to rate my low-tech setup, what would you give it? It is low-tech. You guys you can roast me for this. It's okay. Feel free to roast me for my low-tech setup here. But low-tech or not, we're doing a thumbnail review live, so we can't complain about that. Okay, let's take a look at some of the most recent thumbnails here. I really, really like the channel banner. I think the channel branding here is really, really good. I think some of these colors, and it just feels good and techy. I love the overlay you have here, and it looks like in your thumbnails you're doing similar styles. So I do like the cohesion of some of the backgrounds in your thumbnails. Overall, as I'm looking through, they generally feel a little busy, like a little on the busy side. There are some that are a little bit better than others, so I'm going to point those out. Like this one, I like the idea, you know, having your face here. There's enough other there's enough going on in the thumbnail that maybe you didn't need your face there. That's okay. On this thumbnail here, let me zoom in a little bit. So on this one, I like the versus style thumbnail. That's kind of cool. If there was a way that you could make a little bit more distinction down the middle, I understand you have the versus lettering here, but maybe a little bit more of a break. And then honestly, you could probably take yourself out of it. I know that we oftentimes are told our face needs to be in every thumbnail, but that's just not true. Our face can be a strong way to help our audience understand that our videos are from us. But the reality is, most of the time, unless you're like just a vlogging channel, totally vlogging about yourself all the time, most of the time, your videos, you are not the primary element of curiosity, if that makes sense. And I think a lot of people get that mixed up because of a lot of YouTube strategists telling you to do that, honestly. But I think a lot of times your face is probably a secondary element of interest. It's just sort of like, it's reaffirming. It's like, oh, okay, I know who this video is from. But the reality is, if you do a good job on your branding, your face doesn't have to take up the space in the thumbnail. A lot of times we waste real estate on our thumbnails because we just put our face, even when there's not a great reason to. So anyway, it's just a little more nuanced than 100% always have your face. Yeah, okay, I'll get off my soapbox. Back to the thumbnails. Okay, sorry for the, again, low budget setup here. Okay, let's scroll through a couple more. Okay, I like this one down here in this corner. This is good. I think this is a great place to have your face, like you're clearly expressing a specific emotion. Gaming with 4 gigs of RAM, is it possible? I like this visual element. There's kind of a lot of text on the screen. So I don't know, I would probably try and remove 1 or 2 of these elements, or maybe you could even remove all of like the graph looking element and just improve, like make yourself larger. Make your head a little bit larger, make the graphics cards, the sticks, the RAM sticks a little bit larger, and then just let that be the central focus. It almost feels like 2 focuses here. It's like, okay, I need to try and figure out what's going on here and figure out what's going on here. But if you just made this a little bit larger, or even if your head stayed in the background, but you brought your hand a lot closer to the camera so that people could see, that would probably help a little bit. Let's see, this thumbnail right here in the middle is pretty cool. Visually very interesting and a lot of curiosity. It doesn't necessarily need text, probably, but I could see like having 1 word, like in white text or something with an arrow. You know, just pointing out something that's curiosity inducing, something crazy about this build that you did. I could see making that thumbnail just a little bit better. I definitely think that your more recent thumbnails are improving compared to some of your old thumbnails. So generally, I think you're trending in the right direction, but I would say continue to keep them a little bit more simple. Think about yourself as like a secondary element of interest, with whatever it is you're talking about being the primary. Okay, let's see, what time is it here? Okay, 11:30 MST. Let's take a look. Okay, I'm going to take a look at just a couple. Okay, no, not one I wanted to do. I'm going to take a look at just 1 or 2 from here in the chat. Oh, good. Tech Override says, makes sense, thank you. Yeah, overall, I think you're on the right track there. I love the branding on the channel, and I think your thumbnails are getting better. So I like where you're headed. A little more simple. Bring out the primary elements a little bit more. Let them shine. And then think about, again, that curiosity. What's going to get people really curious? Ross Peters Music said, I really need to make a channel banner. I have no idea what I want to do. It is hard to figure out exactly what to put in a channel banner. The best thing I can say is don't overthink it. There are plenty of YouTubers out there with weird or kind of interesting channel banners, and it just typically, as you watch their channel, you realize that it just speaks to their personality, or to what you can expect to get from that channel. So just think about it from that element. Like, how could your channel banner help your audience get to know you a little bit, but then also help manage some expectations, like potentially publishing schedule, or what they can expect otherwise from you. Okay, Hill Country Husker says, I try to create at least 3 thumbnails for my content before I record. That's a really great exercise. It's not easy to do that, but a really, really great exercise to do. So well done there. That's a great way to make sure your thumbnails are always getting a little bit better. All right, I'm just going to scroll, random scroll, random scroll. Let's see. All right, let's take a look at the Sweet Summary channel. I'm going to pull it up on my computer here. Sometimes YouTube search is not very helpful, so we'll see if I get what I'm looking for. I think this is the right one. Yes. Okay, Sweet Summary, 1,050 subscribers. Congrats on 1,000 subs. That's a great achievement. So Sweet Summary is knowledge made simple and sweet, turning your favorite topics into easy to digest summaries. Okay, that's a cool niche. You have just a couple videos, so you're just getting started here. It looks like you probably, or maybe you've hidden some videos. 1,000 subs, pretty low views on most videos. So there's probably something going on here behind the scenes that I cannot see on the front end. But regardless, that doesn't matter for now. Let's just take a look at your thumbnails. All right, let's zoom in. Okay, I like what you're going for on this thumbnail. A couple thoughts for you. Simplify just a little bit. So I can tell that you have some, like you have the picture of you overlaid, you have different foods here. The problem is it just looks a little bit hodgepodge and messy. So you might just consider simplifying a little bit, probably removing some of your text. I like how your face in this one is a little bit bigger. I'd probably recommend that for this too. Because again, you got to think about what your primary element is. So as you think about your primary element, is it your face? Is it the food that you're trying to talk about? If it is the food, then show whatever the food is, show it up a lot closer. But if it's not the food, then try something else. Let's take a look at your most recent one. This says 5 months ago, The Dark Reality of Medicines Exposed. This is a decent thumbnail. Now, the background, it has like the little bit, heart monitor line squiggling across. I do like how you highlighted the word exposed. It's sort of glowing a little bit. I could see this text being a little bit larger, but I do also like your photo here sort of holding up the medicine bottle. So maybe simplifying this text into 2 words, making it larger, but then also making the photo of you a little bit larger and highlighting the medicine bottle. I think you're on the right track. Your thumbnails are not bad. I do like how they're not, most of them are not too overly busy. You could probably simplify some text here, but you are off to a good start. So keep working on them. So remember, simplify. Think about your primary element, your secondary element, even maybe all the other elements after that, and just don't add anything that's not going to create curiosity. That's the biggest thing here. Okay, Dog says howdy, howdy. Howdy, howdy, Dog. Good to see you. InSamniak says, how would you suggest applying the practice of making thumbnails before recording the video to something like a gaming channel? So it kind of depends on the type of gaming content you're creating. If you're doing like gaming challenges where, let's say you're playing Minecraft and you are trying to complete a specific challenge. Well, if you have sort of the outline of your challenge prepared, then you sort of know what could happen, right? Or just a couple options. It's like, what are the problems or issues that I'm likely to run into? They're not going to be exact, but you could at least start thinking along the lines of what are the challenges or curiosity elements that I could run into during this challenge. If you're just doing like gameplay and you're doing like highlight clips, it is a little bit harder to do that before you record the video. And so I would just say, just be ready while you're gaming, while you're playing. If something interesting happens, if you're doing a highlight compilation, just be thinking of the most interesting things that happen. And so that after you can go through and pick from those and see which ones are the most interesting or engaging for your audience. I don't think you always have to come up with a thumbnail. You don't always have to bring the thumbnail to concept before you record, but it is a really good practice if possible. Because even in videos like, if you're doing like a project video, you may not really know what the final project looks like. Like you obviously don't have a photo of it, but you could definitely go and you could render something up, even if it's just like a whiteboard drawing. Whiteboard and kind of figure out, okay, what do I want the framing on this to look like? Is the character that I'm playing, are they going to be the main part, or am I going to be on the main focus? So there's just definitely some things that you should think through beforehand to try and get the best thumbnail possible. Now, something else you can also do is if you are doing the gameplay style, it's really hard to figure out a thumbnail beforehand, you can try and make things happen while you're gaming, because you like, oh man, I know if I did this, that would be a really good thumbnail. If you can sort of lean into that a little bit and try and make some of those things happen, you have a better chance at a thumbnail. And so anyway, there's a lot of different ways to go about it, but you could you can just figure out which elements you can do beforehand and which elements you have to do after. Rocky Mountain Backcountry says, to add text or to not add text? Really good question. It really depends. I would say if text is going to help people, if it's going to help direct their attention to a specific part of the photo that's not super clear, then that can be good. But I don't think you have to add text. Like that PC one where it had all the glowing fans, I don't think that one needed text per se, just because it's visually interesting, it will catch attention, and then people will go down to the title. I would say never, in nearly every case, your title text should never match the text in your thumbnail. So don't just duplicate that unless you are a fully searched channel, but even then you can do better. You can do better than that. And so no text, and if you do text, probably 3 words or less is a good place to start, because it's so easy to put too much text. And really the job of the thumbnail is to catch attention, so visually interesting, and then when they go down and look at your title, then they can get a little bit of clarification. So if 1 or 2 or 3 words of text help catch people's attention, then that's fine. But if it doesn't, then I would say in most cases you can leave it off. Really, really good question. Thank you for asking that. Okay, let's take a look at one more here. I'm randomly scrolling the chat right now, whatever one it lands on. Let's see. Let's take a look at Gaussian Prepping. Sorry if I said that wrong. Little prep channel here. Very cool. Very, very cool. All right, let us dive into the channel. Okay, tilt you down just a little bit. Okay, Gaussian Prepping, 223,000 subscribers, 818 videos. Let's see if there's any sort of channel info. We focus primarily on being prepared for all possible contingencies, not only preparedness, but common sense preparedness, not giving in to fear and paranoia. Love that. We take a step back and make rational, intentional decisions based on fact and not on emotions. Okay, so this is a fairly well-established channel. Let's go to our main videos here and see what we're looking at. Okay, so video 2 days ago, video 4 days ago, video 6 days ago, so lots of videos. So you're working with, you're doing a lot of thumbnails here. Let's look at some of your popular videos. So 2 years ago, 2 million views on this video, most popular video, top 5 canned foods to stockpile. So this is an interesting one because some of these topics, it looks like you're falling into probably some search traffic, but some of them will also definitely be curiosity based. Survive on only 3 foods. That's very curiosity inducing. So I would say definitely for your thumbnails, you are leaning into the text being the primary element. Obviously, like the photos and imagery that you're using a lot of times are very preparedness focused. So that can help people understand what your channel is. But the texts they're definitely what's getting people interested. So 3 steps to survive. This is your upcoming live. With this photo here, only the prepared will survive. I mean, talk about curiosity inducing. It's like, okay, what do I need to do? Then the title goes, Emergency Urban Survival Guide You Need Right Now. 4 days ago, the coming blackout. So, I mean, here's the thing. You're clearly leaning into survival and preparedness, which, when we talk about what causes people curiosity, fear is a big one. Fear is definitely something that's going to get people to be curious. And so you're doing a good job there. I probably wouldn't change much about your thumbnails because they're working. I mean, 6 days ago, 134,000 views. You're publishing enough that you're getting a lot of interaction on these videos. Now, maybe you're frustrated because over the last little bit, maybe you're not getting as many views as you had in the past. If you wanted to, you could do some more where your face is in the thumbnail, but I don't even think necessarily that that's the right answer. The visuals that you choose, so like one of your thumbnails here 2 weeks ago, affordable SHTF prescriptions. So 11 prescription medications that could save your life when things go bad, essentially. So like your visual there is good. I think you're doing the right things here. There's a lot of people in this space. So go out into your space, look at a channel that you like their thumbnails. If you just want to try a thumbnail change, just try different things. But it looks like what you're doing, generally speaking, is working. I would say the biggest reason some of your videos are maybe doing just a little bit different or not as well as they have in the past, if that's the case for you, I'm not 100% sure. If that is the case, then you would probably consider your topics more. Different topics at different times are just going to do well, especially in the preparedness, survival space. You really need to think about, what bad things are happening, what disasters are going on, what's on people's minds. And there's definitely going to be a virality factor there too for people who are experiencing certain issues or problems in different parts of the world. I mentioned we have a sort of preparedness channel. It's kind of outdoor DIY, but we did one about water storage, or having water in a situation like this. And it happened all around the time when there was a bunch of these hurricanes going on, and that video kicked up like crazy. And so it really just depends on the timing. Sadly, your channel will do better when there's more bad things happening because it's going to put preparedness on people's minds more. So really just like you're doing right now, I think your thumbnails are pretty good for your niche. Obviously, you found something that worked. You have 223,000 subs. So if you want something to work a little bit better, I would focus on better video ideas. Maybe doing a different type or style of content. Maybe it's survival challenges. Maybe it's just something totally different from a style standpoint that brings in more curiosity and more interest rather than just the how-to, 3 steps to survive or over-the-counter medication for, whatever. You can try different styles of content. That's probably going to be the biggest thing that will make your views increase. Probably not just the thumbnails. Now, when you do different styles of content, your thumbnails will probably also change too. Okay, well done though. I mean, obviously you're doing a great job on the channel. So keep it up, keep publishing. You're holding quite a publishing regimen here. Okay, thank you guys for joining this live. Hopefully this has been helpful. Again, I apologize to those of you who waited a little bit extra long for this live to happen. Just got busy this morning, had a couple things come up. So hopefully this has been helpful for you. Go watch the Channel Makers video this morning about thumbnails. If you have any questions about thumbnails, continue to leave those questions on that video. I'll be watching the comments and will likely respond to you pretty quickly. And so hopefully that's helpful for you guys. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. We are launching phase 4 of our new YouTube system this upcoming week, so that's something exciting. We are in the middle of a challenge right now for our monthly challenges. So if you guys want to participate in monthly challenges, we can get you going on that. I can put a link in the description of this morning's video, but we're doing monthly YouTube skill challenges to help you guys grow and improve on YouTube. They've been incredibly popular. People love them. And so we have people doing one about hooks and intros right now. And it's awesome to see what they're getting done. So hopefully you guys can join us there. If not, no worries. We'll see you guys around on the Channel Makers channel, and we'll see you guys soon. Thanks for joining. Have a good one, guys.